Sokaharta, destroyer of lamentation. Naidakikam, due to the summer sun. Tapam, distress. Eva, like it. Uduraja, the moon. He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun. Please repeat. He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness.
Jolly and happy in others' happiness.
Distressed in others' distress.
Distressed in others' distress.
And will have no enemies.
And will have no enemies.
He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes.
He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes.
Like the pleasant moon after the summer sun.
Like the pleasant moon after the summer sun.
Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Prahlad Maharaj, the exemplary devotee of the Lord, had all the good qualities humanly possible. Although he was the emperor of this world, he was not profligate. Beginning from his childhood, he was the reservoir of all good qualities. Without enumerating these qualities, it is said here summarily that he was endowed with all good qualities. That is the sign of a pure devotee. The most important characteristic of a pure devotee is that he is not lampata or licentious. And another quality is that he is always eager to mitigate the miseries of suffering humanity. The most obnoxious misery of a living entity is his forgetfulness of Krishna. Pure devotee, therefore, always tries to evoke everyone's Krishna consciousness. This is the panacea for all miseries. Could you get me the Adi Leela Volume 1? Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurvanvitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Sva Vedantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Saganatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Vijanasi Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangur Mama Munda Matergati Vatsarvasva Padam Bojo Madha Madana Mohan Divya Vrindavanya Kalpajumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Vestalavi Savyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasarambi Bamsi Bhattatastita Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Striyestuna Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Bhade Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasadubhya Evacha Gitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Alampata Shila Daro Gunakaro Rista Paradya Vyatito Kitishu Buddha Satur Jagata Sakaharta Adakikam Tapam Rama. Be virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun. So, Prahlad Maharaj has made his appearance in Srimad Bhagavatam prior to the 7th canto, here in the prediction of his appearance by Kasyapa Muni in the 3rd canto. And seemingly, or amazingly, in the litany of the transgressions of Diti in her, what's hinted at here, Lampata licentiousness, which is going to cause the 2 greatest demons to have ever appeared in the universe to just go on a rampage of mayhem, so great that it will necessitate the Lord himself to come and just kill them and dispatch them. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the lotus growing out of the mud, the great devotee Prahlad Maharaj will appear. And what a contrast it is between the son and the grandson of Diti. The greatest demons, twin demons. You get 2 for the price of 1. Come on in, it's on sale. So one pure devotee. We hear how Srila Prabhupada would emulate the same feeling that he heard from the mouth of his Guru Maharaj, that for the expense of all the temples and all of the money spent and all of the endeavor and all the blood, sweat, and tears, I could turn one man to become a pure devotee of Krishna. I consider the whole thing a success. So, Srila Prabhupada, of course, is that tremendous success of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The entire world was the given field for his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. All those who just like here in America, we say in Hare Krishna. We owe our gratitude and our pledge of allegiance to Davy Crockett and King of the Wild Frontier. They lays the westward ho, right? Of course, that's not so glorious what they did to the Native American Indians. So, Srila Prabhupada's westward ho, the more farther west you go, the more materialistic. Srila Prabhupada is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean now. If you look, I remember year to year, Guru Gauranga Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, who was one of the spearheads to open up ISKCON in Switzerland, would give us a nice meditation on a day-to-day basis. So Srila Prabhupada came to the United States of America and landed on the East Coast. So we're in the Eastern. And so then he was told by some of the, by his disciple Mukunda and Janaki, who were friends with some quite a very charismatic personality, and then becoming his girlfriend, a also very charismatic personality. That's Shamasundar and Malati, whose 77th birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday. They knew all the luminaries and all the local rock and roll bands. Actually, the manager of the Grateful Dead, his name was Rock Scully, and they were like inseparable buddies in college. And so Mukunda says, Prabhupada, there's a much greater youth renaissance taking place in California, much bigger than what's going on in New York. And we're arranging a mantra rock dance, and all the biggest famous bands are going to be there. Allen Ginsberg is going to be there. And enclosed in the letter, in the envelope, is a plane ticket. This would be Srila Prabhupada's first airplane ride. And the devotees in New York, so even then, you see the same modes. New York was a more conservative mood, even amongst the first disciples. They said, how could Swamiji go to San Francisco? Those people are just crazed out of their minds, drugs, sex, and rock and roll, and how they going to know how to take care of Srila Prabhupada? And rock bands, it's crazy, you have to stay in New York. Brahmananda, I thought it would stay forever on the Lower East Side. That was it, and it would stay here eternally. Who else but, Lower East Side, beatniks and hippies would want to know anything about Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada was quite resolute. So, the wild western city of San Francisco, I think the number given was something like, I don't remember, but there have been hundreds of thousands of young people just dropping out from wherever they were all over the country, just migrating to that neighborhood. And Prabhupada introduced Krishna consciousness in quite the licentious place. Now it's very interesting in the verse today. Alampata. Lampata means a debauchee. Of course, Krishna is so-called licentiousness, or being a lampata, is the most glorious thing, because that is his the exchange of the most pure and deepest felt love on the spiritual platform. Radha, Krishna, Pranaya, Vikritir, Ladini, Shaktir, Osman. Ekatmanav, Api, Bhuvi, Pura, Deha, Vedam, Gatoto, Chaitanyakyam, Prakritam, Adunata, Dyam, Chaikyam, Aptam, Radha, Bhava, Dyuti, Subalitam, Nomi, Krishna, Svarupam. Loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself, and who has spoken this verse. The personality most qualified to understand these things. The very expansion of Srimati Radharani, whose appearance day we'll celebrate on Thursday, Srimati Lalita Devi. This is from the diary of Srila Svarup Damodar Goswami. Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they have assumed two bodies, thus they enjoy each other, tasting the mellows of love. Everything on the absolute platform is inconceivable in relative existence. So, my dear sir, you're such an educated person. You're so much endowed with all good qualities. You're such a respectable aristocrat. Kindly, I beg this one charity of you. Kindly kick all of your foolish mental speculation out, completely suspend everything that you've conceived to be real, and with a clean slate, just hear the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, in relative cognizance, people think, oh yeah, I know. They don't know. Those who know, when they hear the holy name, they come running. That is a sign, very important sign, especially in this Kali Yuga, attraction to the holy name. Just like we were hearing yesterday. Of the highest state of devotional service. Topmost devotee of the Lord, that will have expanded intelligence and expanded influence and will be the greatest of the great souls. Due to mature devotional service, he will certainly be situated in transcendental ecstasy. That is real devotional service. Having that type of sentiment with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, right from the very beginning, in an initiation in 1968, he told the devotees, this initiation process is meant to ultimately make you qualified to dance with Krishna in the Rasa Lila. When Sanatana Goswami was contemplating suicide because he was so upset that Lord Chaitanya would forcibly embrace him with the deepest affection, after he had contracted some type of terrible disease while traveling through Jharkhand forest, drank some bad water and like itching sores all over his body, pus coming out. Lord Chaitanya flatly forbade him to take his life and said that the time of initiation The Lord accepts the devotee's body as spiritual, fit to enjoy loving mellows and reciprocation. Due to mature devotional service, he will certainly be situated in transcendental ecstasy and will enter the spiritual sky after quitting this material world. Once going, one never returns. That is my supreme abode. Continual perfect love of Godhead is called staiva. It's steady ecstasy. Only by unalloyed devotional service, unmotivated and uninterrupted. There is very, very great value and merit in performing your devotional service unbroken. Not that, okay, I've done this for a certain amount of time, where's my reward, where's my recognition? You're one very, very senior devotee who had quite a position and responsibility. He left devotional service, or that perceivable devotional service, and when devotees asked him, what's going on? He said, oh, I already did that. Now I've moved on to something else. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Prabhupada defined a pure devotee as one who performs his devotional service without the slightest desire for elevation to a higher status of life. Even within the devotional community or within the varnashram system, if Krishna wants you to perform a devotional service, especially if it's a very important service and others are not so inclined to sacrifice themselves to take that responsibility, and it prevents you from rising up the ranks and the ladder, so to speak, then so be it. That is more important, pleasing Krishna, than getting status or recognition, which you might think is pleasing, but it ultimately takes away from your ability to enter into an intimate relationship with Krishna. If a pack of asses says that you're good, what is that? We want a certificate from Krishna that this man had done something for me. Prabhupada spent the whole month of Boston, May 1968, and he amazed the devotees by knowing how to get to the Commonwealth Pier from Alston, which is just a little east of Boston, a little west of Boston. Those of you who've been to Boston know what a crazy city it is for roads and one-way streets. It just doesn't make any sense the way the city is laid out. Kind of like Washington, D.C. It was done deliberately, so if the British attacked or any other foreign invader, they'd get lost. Because the roads are so cockeyed. But Prabhupada, there was no GPS or, whatever, Prabhupada knew the way there to the Commonwealth Pier. And the devotees walked in silence, and Prabhupada said, this is the place where I landed. One person who later became Prabhupada's disciple, Chaivan, later become Chaivan Maharaj, he's passed away now, was in the merchant marines at the time. And he was on the he was there, and he saw Prabhupada on the deck of the ship and he gave Prabhupada military salute and symbols. Because he's an extraordinary personality. And there on the Commonwealth Pier, in big, big letters, like 10 feet tall letters all on the side of a long building, Unalloyed Steel Company. Prabhupada says, they have unalloyed steel, but we have unalloyed devotion. To please Krishna with purified senses, this is the ultimate goal of life. And when this continual sthaya is performed in a particular type of transcendental relationship, it is called anubhava. The stage of mahabhava is visible amongst the personal pleasure potential energies of the Lord. Just as the fountainhead, Lord Krishna, is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all the unlimited consorts. Goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. The goddesses of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhav Vilas. The queens are of the nature of her Vaibhava Prakash. The Braja Devis have diverse bodily features. They are expansions and they are her expansions and are the instruments for expanding rasa. Without many consorts, there is not such exaltation in rasa. Therefore, there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lord's pastimes. Among them are various groups of consorts in Braja, with varieties of sentiments and mellows. They help Lord Krishna taste all the sweetness of the rasa dance and other pastimes. The personal associates of Srimati Radharani, the damsels of Braja, are her direct expansions of her body. As expansions of her personal form and transcendental disposition, they are agents of different reciprocations of love in the pastimes of Lord Krishna under the supreme direction of Srimati Radharani. In the transcendental realm, enjoyment is fully relished in variety. The exuberance of transcendental mellows is increased by the association of a large number of personalities similar to Radharani, who are also known as gopis or sakis. My dear Maharaj Ambarish, by acting so offensively my dear Durvasa Muni, by acting so offensively to Maharaj Ambarish, you have acted in self-envy. One who does so doesn't harm the so-called person he wants to victimize, but harms himself. If you want peace, you must go to him without delay and beg his forgiveness. If he forgives you, then and only then will there be peace for you. He had just told Durvasa Muni, I'm completely under the control of my devotees' love. Without the reciprocation of love between myself and my devotees, I don't aspire for any opulence. I have no ambition other than to reciprocate love with my devotees. So Prabhupada writes there in that 4th chapter, the 9th canto, that Krishna is completely independent to fulfill his desires. He does not need us. And Prabhupada would teach us we should always keep that in mind. Krishna doesn't need our devotional service. Yet he creates a situation where he is dependent upon us. As the Shishi Radha Govinda, they placed themselves in our care to have a proper temple and building for them to reside in, for them to have enough devotees, servants who are rightly situated in good consciousness, behavior, and activities to serve them properly, regulatedly, unbrokenly. Prabhupada said, in the material world, there must be anxiety. But when you take the Krishna consciousness, you have the choice to transfer that anxiety from material anxiety to spiritual anxiety. So Krishna is giving us that opportunity.
Spiritual anxiety is healthy.
So that opulence of Krishna, that he doesn't need, his happiness is expanding unlimitedly at the same time. He needs or he wants his pleasure to expand more and more. Hence, we, the Jiva Shakti, are expanded unlimitedly. There are unlimited spirit souls. They're all meant to be, if they not already are. We're in the minority in the material world, pure devotees. So the attempt to expand the pleasure potency of the Lord by increasing the number of devotees. When one proclaims himself to be a non-devotee, it is understood that such a person is not in a sane condition of life. Living entities in their pure state, Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, are called devotees, or living entities in a pure state are defined as devotees. Therefore, we must offer our respectful obeisances unto him, the Supreme Lord, as a matter of sanity. I forget where that's stated, somewhere in the Bhagavatam. In the transcendental realm, enjoyment is fully relished in variety. The exuberance of transcendental mellows is increased by the association of a large number of personalities similar to Radharani, who are also known as gopis or sakis. So again, the purpose of initiation is to qualify you to one day enter into the rasa dance. Because he would constantly remain in meditation, he would easily transfer himself to the spiritual world after quitting his material body. Such meditation is still more conveniently performed by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord. This is especially recommended in this age of Kali. So Radha and Krishna are one, yet they've separated themselves eternally. They've combined together again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is propagating the Dharma of this age, the chanting of the holy names of Radha and Krishna, which is the supreme spiritual meditation, which is ultimately facilitatory for everyone to enter the Braja, into Goloka Vrindavan Dham. The variety of innumerable mistresses is a source of relish for Sri Krishna, and therefore these expansions from Srimati Radharani are necessary for enhancing the pleasure and potency of Sri Krishna. Their transcendental exchanges of love are the super excellent affairs of the pastimes in Vrindavan. By these expansions of Srimati Radharani's personal body, she helps Lord Krishna taste the rasa dance and other similar activities. Srimati Radharani, being the central petal of the Rasa Leela flower, is also known by the names found in the following verses. Govinda Nandini, Radha Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarvakanti Siromani. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. Madan, Mohan, Mohini. Devotional service, you read in the beginning of the Nectar of Devotion, is so attractive that it attracts Krishna himself. Devotional service to the supreme degree is personified by Srimati Radharani. Therefore, devotees in Vrindavan put herself under her care to perfect their devotional service and be accepted by Krishna. Prabhupada suffered 2 heart attacks, one day after the next, on the boat. You see, Prabhupada kept a very nice diary, and for 5 or 6 days he couldn't write, and when he finally came back, he put a line through all the 5 days in the diary. Passed over a great crisis in health. I forget exactly. So again, when there was such success, he established ISKCON. It was 26 2nd Avenue. He was invited to San Francisco. Imagine, Prabhupada comes into the airport and only Mukunda, maybe there was Haridas, Harvey Cohn, yes, he was driving the 1949 Fleet Cadillac limousine with a chauffeur's hat he had bought at the Salvation Army. Haridas, is that you? Welcome to San Francisco, Swamiji. They organized, they put flyers up in Golden Gate Park, come to this place and we'll all go to the airport to greet Swami Bhaktivedanta. Allen Ginsberg, who just spoke at the very famous Human Being, that was the name of a gathering, he said human being, a being, man, it's a being, that they would call like a hip kind of gathering of people together. Yeah, man, we're having a be-in. So they had a human be-in in Golden Gate Park, a gathering of the tribes for a joyful powwow and peace dance. So Allen Ginsberg, what a luminary, he'd been chanting Hare Krishna like at all his poetry readings. He's even on live TV with the famous talk show host William F. Buckley. Can I chant Hare Krishna? Yeah, go ahead. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He had heard some sadhus on the street in Calcutta chanting. This is the only melody that I can chant that I find to be convincing. What do you think of the tune? Does not matter. It can be the tune of your country. Let's chant Hare. And all of these people, and then Sam and Melanie, Malati and Shamasundar, Yamuna, Janaki's sister, Joan at the time, had met Prabhupada for a day, coming to New York to help with the wedding of Janaki and Mukunda. She was there. Roger Siegel, who was boyfriend and girlfriend with Yamuna at the Yamuna at the time, later to become Guru Das. And so many people, and they were like, wow, and they were all chanting Hare Krishna when Prabhupada arrived. So, Srila Prabhupada, as the powerful servant of Srimati Radharani, my dear brothers, I emphatically say unto you, you will not receive the pleasure of the Supreme Lord until Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. And then what does Prabhupada say next? Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at various places around the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Krishna will spread all over this world. In every town and village, from the mountains to the seas, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly inundate the land. When all the poor, fallen, sinful, miserable living entities are made happy, then the Vaishnava's desire is fulfilled. You will be virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities, who will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no. This is why it is so important for devotees to minister in public for as many hours a day as possible. Because this is a practice. There is no other thing that you can do out there, sink or swim, than to minister to the people. And with transcendental eyes, you cannot see me with your present eyes, therefore I give you divine eyes to render devotional service. I want to see Krishna. First, see and know how to accurately perfect and enhance and elevate and beautify your devotional service. That automatically is seeing Krishna. Who is a proper candidate? Who has adhikar? Who has bhakti unmukya sukriti from previous life? I think that you have all been sent by my Guru Maharaj and Lord Chaitanya to take your births in the Western countries to come forward to assist me when I came. But Srila Prabhupada, how could that be? We're engaged in so many sinful activities. What did Prabhupada say? That was all circumstantial. When you heard the holy name, you all came running. And those who don't come running, those who are covered over, the holy name is planting the seed. We should be Shrestha. It's a name sometimes devotees are given. Shrestha prabhu. We must be long-term visionaries, not praistas. Where's the result right now? I don't see the result. It's not working. Let's do something else. Shreya Uttama, long-term benefit. Although my spiritual master has given me this mission, I feel myself most unqualified. I am simply praying to make you qualified. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, but I've been designated as Bhaktivedanta. Now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Happiness in others' happiness, distress in others' distress, and he will have no enemies. Even those who tried to find fault with Prabhupada. Prabhupada is lecturing in Sweden after spending 2 months in London, opening up Bhaktivedanta Manor, and Prabhupada was lecturing on Varnashram, the 4 classes. So let me understand, among students. You're here with all your followers, you're sitting on a big seat, and people are worshiping you and bowing down. So you're first class, right? So Prabhupada said, no. This is Pritu, who's like a very heavy German devotee. And he was like fuming. He said, Prabhupada, they had a 1996 reunion at 26 2nd Avenue. You can look at it, his video. He said, if Prabhupada had given me indication, I would have just pounced on the guy and pulverized him right there on the spot. And Brahmananda Prabhu, who was present in the audience, he said, no, you couldn't have done that. That was my job. I was supposed to do it. And Preeta said, yeah, but you weren't there. This was in Sweden. You were in Africa or something. Prabhupada said, no. You don't understand. I am a servant of all the other classes. I am 5th class. And Prabhupada wasn't just saying that out of like snappy kind of comeback, like a rap musician or something these days. But he felt it out of his deep humility. And everyone was, and including the challenger, had nothing more to say. Yet he sat down without any further agitation. No enemies. You will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, plural. How powerful is pure devotion. How powerful is a pure devotee? He can deliver the entire, even Rupa Goswami said, one who can control the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of the tongue, belly, and genitals can do what? He can make disciples all over the world. Because Krishna's message, Krishna's instructions are true for everyone, in all times, in all places and lands, and in all circumstances. You will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes. Dina Dayatri, I was saying this in the last class, Mataji, she was one of the first devotees with Prabhupada in India, World Sankirtan Party. And so many devotees have the same realization. You have so many problems, your mind is just like, you're in so much distress, and you come into Prabhupada's presence, and you completely forgot what the problem was, and you're just so happy. And devotees, they just wanted to have Prabhupada's association as much as possible. Because just being with him, everything was all right. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. The very epic and important and beautiful and glorious chapter, indeed called The Glories of Devotional Service, chapter 25 of this canto, which is the first instructions, the beginning of the instructions of Krishna as Kapila Dev to his glorious mother Devahuti. Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadeina Ajanta Satyavashanta Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Such a sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections, such as family relationships and friendly acquaintances within the world. We're not striving to become popular in a particular clique or club. We're not looking for cheap temporary fame and recognition. Engage constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. What does Rupa Goswami teach in the beginning of Nectar Devotion? We're giving it out in this little Bhakti Yoga, the Art of Transcendental Love book, a little beautiful painting of Jadharani, of Krishna blowing his flute at Bamsivat, and all the gopis coming in rapture to him. Immediate relief from distress of material life. Giving people the chance for Krishna consciousness is to give them relief from anxiety right now on the spot, and ultimately to solve all of their problems. Bonnie McDonald and Gary McElroy, Gaurasundar and Govinda Dasi, so much in distress, and Prabhupada just simply looked at them with compassion and said, you simply come to my classes and everything will be all right. It's an unbelievable panacea. We couldn't believe it because he was saying it with such love and conviction we believed him. And he was right. All our problems were solved. O my mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. So, of course, the vapu of such a great personality as Srila Prabhupada is no longer available, but the vadi is readily available to everyone, transcending all time and space, and ultimately clinging to the vadi shows the excellence of the devotee. Make the words of the spiritual master one with one's heart. Do not desire anything else to remain within one's heart. Attachment to the order of the spiritual master raises one to the highest position. Shri Guru Charani Radhe Aise Uttamagati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Satam prasangan mamavirya samvido bhavanti ritkarna vasayana pita yat jokshanat asya apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhakti anukramisyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Hare Krishna. So the main symptom of a devotee, Prabhupada says, is not lampata, licentious. Look up the word licentious in the dictionary. Not good. So only the devotee can be alampata, because his mind and intelligence, his heart, desires, and everything is fixed at the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Govinda. Alampata Shila Dero Gunakaro Vista Paradya Vyatito Duketi Adbhuta Sachur Jagata Soga Harta Naidaki Kam Tapam Ibodu Rajaha. You will be virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities, and will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Gita 901. Should we have one question, or should we adhere to the time schedule, which would probably be a very good thing to do? But so that's what we'll do. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Put it here.